Hello there, Bic Benedict here. We're playing Ninja Gaiden Black, and this is my Master Ninja Difficulty Gaiden walkthrough. We're currently on Chapter 4 of 17. It is entitled A Captive Goddess. So I was really surprised that they kept the bats over here, because it is kind of a nuisance to have to kill them, and it's underwhelming, and it's rather pointless, but they did preserve this for better or worse. And to me, it's quite worse. Although it's much the same way as they preserve a lot of things that are kind of questionable, but they are integrated into the game, but can be deleted, as we've seen on Chapter 1. Remember, they took the Buddha statue, mid-level boss, out of Chapter 1, and then they also, of course, on Sigma 2, after you killed the Shadow Ninja Resetsu, then you would have another rematch versus the Buddha at the end of that chapter. And then, of course, on Chapter 4, you would kill... this chapter, actually, you would kill Alexei, and then you would have to do the Statue of Liberty boss fight. And those spectacle boss fights were rather difficult because the grab damage and just the damage in general. And despite the fact that it's a complete shit show, at least on the Statue of Liberty, because it spams this lightning attack constantly, I found that it's they're welcome removals, but they're definitely welcome, not because, well, in part because they're shit bosses. I don't think anybody would disagree with that, but also the fact that item management on those scenarios in Chapter 1 at the end, and then at the end of this chapter, quite difficult, because I did use a Talisman of Rebirth on Alexei, because he grabs a lot, and it's difficult not to take damage on him. So here are the wind blades, and then you've got a chest with red essence down here that I'm not going to pick up on the recording, but once I get to the save, I'm going to do the next fight and use Nimpa quite liberally, because I wanted to do the next fight and not take damage so that I could show you the rewards for doing that, at least from my point of view, so that I can show you actually on the screen rather than just tell you about it and then you do it for yourself, without any visual example from me. Now on Sigma 2, they introduced black Vangelfs, and they've got about twice as much HP and as much limb severing resistance as the Vangelfs. And they're quite difficult for that reason, just because they are difficult to delimb. Now, we do have the Lunar up to level 3, and just a couple of X attacks traditionally will delimb one of these purple Vangelfs, but it's not the case with the black Vangelfs. Not at all. And you need to be really careful too, because I've had one of the Vangelfs, it was actually one of the black ones, jump on me from over to the left. He jumped over this rubble and train car rubble over here. I saw him coming, but it was just a surprise that he would do it in the first place. So I don't know that we've killed any black ones, but they are coming. There might have been one intermixed with those purple ones, but once the fight is nearing its conclusion, you will have like 3 or 4 more to deal with. And these black ones just scare the living shit out of me, just because they are so deadly and they have so much HP. And then, of course, they resist your delim because they just have that property of doing that. So for Alexei, I was going to use the Lunar, but I decided to use the Enma's Fang, and by the time that I do get to the Alexei fight, I will have the Enma's Fang upgraded to level 2, and I found that the Enma's Fang, as much as it's a loathed weapon by many veteran players, I don't really loathe it. I think it has a place in the game. and it is helpful in situations. I mean, it's a weapon that's in the game and it has a function. You know, you can't really say that for the Art of the Flame Phoenix. That's the one. Oh, also, I didn't mean to jump down here. I just kind of fell down here. But I am trying to not take damage over here because I wanted to make sure that I was able to interact with these chests and just show you that we were getting single yellow essence drops of 3,000 each box we open, because there are 2 chests that have the herbs in them up here. But again, you have to be really careful, because if you have any damage off you and if you don't have a complete stock of the herbs, it's just going to give you some health. And there's a save statue coming up that's going to do the same thing. So you need to be really careful. And also, don't worry about using Nympho, because there was a chest of that we passed earlier that I mentioned. And then there's also another chest giving you a complete refill of that coming up as well, right before the save statue. Okay, so there's 3,000 right there. And also, even if you don't have, these are kind of strange chests, because even if you don't have, say you do have say your health is completely full, right? And you don't have a full inventory of the herbs, I believe it still gives you blue essence. When it usually won't do that, it will give you the item. But as I said, those 2 chests are a little peculiar in that sense. I also wanted to mention a couple other things too. The camera assist really screws me in this game. I've tried to turn it on, turn it off, and try to find a happy medium. But the camera, it compensates. When you try to leave the designated area of a fight, the camera pulls out and it won't let you reset the camera, and it could be really jarring, visually jarring, and it could mess you up big time. And I also thought that this other thing was strange too. When you die and you're trying to reload back into the game, it goes to that bleed out screen that's just all red and it looks like it's blood. But and it will have different options depending on your situation. If you have a talisman, or if you have a checkpoint, a soft checkpoint, so to speak. But I don't know why I said soft, but like, you'll get a checkpoint that the game will give you unless you do exit out of the game. But the strange thing is that until you press up or down on the D-pad, those options, they're not selected. So it's like, why is that the case? Why do I have to press up or down just to have one of the options selectable? It's really strange, and it's one of those things that you might not even notice, but it's definitely weird the way they do that. And the only thing I can think of is that they're trying to prevent people from too hastily choosing something that they don't want, by slowing things down and not making things instantly selectable. So I think that might be the case. But again, I have to question the fact that, you know, if there's only like one choice for me about either just continuing or exiting out of the game, why are you even asking me what I want to do? You know, I think in Sigma 2, if you die, didn't they just throw you back into the game world after a slight load? You know, you didn't have to select, oh yes, I want to continue. You know? Of course I want to continue. And if I didn't want to, I could just exit out of the game. You know? And there are ways of doing that. It's perfectly fine. Now, I don't go over behind me, and behind some cans, there's that chest with red essence. So you'll want to get that. And you also want to get this. This is the first talisman of the game. Now you can choose to have those used automatically in the traditional way, but if you go into the menu, you can have it so that it doesn't automatically use it, but you'll die and then it will go into a menu, and then you can choose whether or not you want to use the Talisman of Rebirth. So again, you're kind of giving me choices that I don't need these choices. You know, it would be faster if you just didn't ask me in the first place. So what did we use that jewel? Because we just passed the corpse that had a jewel of the demon seal, and if memory serves, I probably upgraded my Inferno. Let me see. I wrote it down here somewhere. Yes, I upgraded the Inferno, so that's up to level 2. I believe it's level 2. Or 3. We'll see. The first time I use it, if there's 3 targets, we'll know. But why didn't I choose to upgrade the wind blades to at least level 2? Yeah, that would have been the case. So definitely right now my Inferno is at level 3. So if you want to stagger your uploads of the jewel and have it so that at this point in time right now on this chapter, you can have your Inferno and your wind blades to level 2. But it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it mattered more in Ninja Gaiden 2, you know, when things were really difficult. And don't get me wrong, this is not as difficult and dense as Ninja Gaiden 2, but the way that they damage you so heavily, that's the problem. And remember in the last video when I got a Lives of the Thousand Gods and then it refilled me? Well, the reason it refilled me is because they don't count that as as permanent damage. And as long as, because you're not in combat, they'll fill you up. Sometimes it might not look, like in chapter 1 when we got the Lives of the Thousand Gods, I think we were around enemies, so it didn't fill us up immediately. But then when we were outside of combat, it filled us up. So over here you've got purple and black Vangels. Now, fortunately, we don't have the flying ones that we witnessed in the last video. But of course, we've got some black ones, and they're going to be difficult. Now, the troll boss fight, I think they've renamed him as well. I'm not sure. I think, yeah, they did. Godimus is his name. Kind of peculiar name, but I think it beats the Death Mega Low Flyer, or whatever they renamed Giga Death. Now, when you come over here, just bear in mind that you want to hit the save, and then if you've got full inventory of grains and you're full up with health, you'll be getting the money for this over here. So this is, what is it, 3,500 for one of those grains? So be careful. Now, of course, if you were at full health and you didn't have full inventory of grains, I assume you would get a grains. And I'm gonna keep the Lunar on for Godimus. And Godimus is a really great fight. I like it because it makes sense and it's a fair fight. But what you want to do is stay back by his legs, and it will guard break you. So some people, I've heard a couple of Ninja Gaiden players distinguish between something that's a guard break and a guard crush. Now these are just their terminology, but maybe I'll implement it because it can be pretty handy when speaking offhandedly. So if you get guard broken in this game, for our purposes, it means that your block has been broken and you're staggered, but you haven't received any damage. If you get guard crushed, that means that your guard has been broken and you've received damage. That happens frequently in Ninja Gaiden 2. It happens on Alexei all the time. You're getting guard crushed. So, in either case, you want to be very vigilant about recovering from that by immediately using the dash for iframes and getting out of that, because it's an undesirable status effect, of course, and anything that's like that is going to cause you additional problems if other enemies are around you and are keen on perhaps grabbing you right away. Don't worry about Oh, also the fight that we just did, they checkpoint that, I believe. I know that on Ninja Gaiden 2, they don't give you a checkpoint. They do refill your health. And on Sigma 2, they both refill your health and give you a checkpoint there. So you're going to have to pick up the Enmis Fang over here. That's going to trigger the door to open. The only other thing in that room was a collectible, a pickup for a diary entry or something. I also took a lot of pains over here not to get damaged. Also to show you that there's a chest that's coming up once we leave this area, that you can manipulate it after you get to the next safe statue, but there's a bit of run back involved in that, which is not a big deal at all. I'm just saying that because I have the ability to show it in my video, it's more it's just more demonstrative visually, and I can you know, just point out exactly what I'm doing rather than having to just tell you that I'm doing it off camera. So this room wasn't that difficult to clear without getting hit. Although we do have somebody else in here. I'm going to use one of my Devil's Weight mushrooms because there's a corpse coming up right over here that has one. So we're not going to lose anything. Also, be aware that after you do this wall run over here, the second you... Well, I don't know if it's the second that you land over here because you might have to go forward a little bit. But just look where I land. And if you land somewhere near the window, it will break and you can get your on-landing charge. And of course, an on-landing charge is you're holding the Y button as soon as Ryu's feet touch the ground to implement your charge. Because that is the smoothest and quickest way to charge. Because if you land improperly, it takes him longer to recover from that improper landing on the ground. And since timing is everything on these games, it's quite important that that you stick those on landing charges, or at least land smoothly. And also bear in mind, this is stuff that I know people are going to roll their eyes at, and why am I even saying this? But just remember, when you're doing UTs and OTs, you're never going to get blue or red essence off of those. So, as great as the OTs are, you know, if you're looking for health or Nimpo, you're never going to get one off of an OT. Especially off a UT. A UT is primarily just for money, and of course the strength of the attack and its helpful nature. Okay, so why did I choose to use the Enmis Fang on Alexei? And you know, why did I choose to use that weapon when I don't have it all the way upgraded? I only have it up. At this moment in time in the video, I have it up to level 1, but the next time I get to a store, I'm going to upgrade it to level 2. And the reason I'm going to use it is because I found it quite helpful on Alexei, more so than the Lunar. Now, they have changed Alexei a little bit, and his whirlwind dash move, his hurricane dash, that seems to have been tempered a little bit so that it's not so crazy. And also, it seems like he has a little bit harder of a time grabbing you, because I know in Ninja Gaiden 2, it was just a big grab fest every second with that guy, and it could have been from my poor ability to avoid his grab. That's very possible, because I'm not very good at Alexei, to be honest. I find him pretty challenging. So the method I'm going to do on him is just the simplest method of inputs so that you can emulate it if you're needing, you know, a straightforward way to deal with this boss. Over here, there's 1,000 in essence, or bats, so be aware of that. And then as you come up here, there's 3 or 4 of these ones over here. And then before you go up the stairs, you want to go out to the area outside and pick up the life of the gods. And I put everything in the description as far as the count for the life of the gods. There's 18 of those pickups. Every 9 you get an upgrade. And with the lives of the 1,000 gods on Master Ninja difficulty, there's 10 lives of the 1,000 gods. There's 2 Spirit of the Devils, and there's also 8 Jewel of the Demon Seal. Now I'm just saying that off the top of my mind because I'm so familiar with those numbers. But everything will be in the description. Okay. I would leave the Inferno one for him, and then again I've got the Lunar equipped, but I did reset and I came back with the Edma's Fang. So he's gonna dash over to you, and again I'm using the simplest combination of buttons over here. It's basically just as many X inputs as I can get, and with these dodges, after he throws those projectiles, he comes in for a grab, so you need to be really careful. But do you see how his Hurricane Dash is a little slowed down? That's what you want to do. And I did have to use that. I'm not proud of it, but it usually comes to pass that I have to use at least something like that. What else? Yeah, just stay around him, bait his grab. His grab is slow. He's got a slow type of Zidonius type of grab. And when he goes into his rage mode, start charging. I charged a little bit too late because I didn't know he was in rage mode that quickly. And some of these UTs will hit him and connect and will deal some pretty good damage. And if you want to, you can try to go for flying swallows off of him. And it's just basically up to you. But I did find that it's very easy to replicate just simple X inputs on him for people that are struggling, and I assume there will be some people at least struggling on him because he's a difficult boss and he's a difficulty spike, you might say. Okay, so that has been the chapter A Captive Goddess. I will see you in the 5th chapter. It will be the Momiji chapter, and until we see each other again, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that it will help you to do whatever you needed to, and until we see each other again, please continue to take care.